World and Sports World networks on Zingo TV channel 250. I have lost track as to what episode number this is, but we're having a lot of fun with this. We've been on the network for a little while now, and have this program running, and I'm so enthused to be a part of it here on this network. And we have different guests that join us each and every week. At least we try to anyway, and this week is no different. But it's very cool because this week we have a very I want to say different guest, something you wouldn't expect on this program, and I can't wait to get to this for you shortly. His name is Ob Spencer, and he's not a sports and autographs collector, but something else that he collects, very unique that you don't hear of every day. Okay, so I look forward to talking to him, and you'll find out what his collection is exactly, and you'll be like, "Wow, people collect that stuff. That's kind of neat. I had no idea." So he's an interesting collector that you don't hear of every day, and I look forward to talking to him 20 minutes after 12 this afternoon on this Tuesday, March the 16th, to find out the latest in Obi's world. And actually, you can catch him on one of the shows here on the network. He is a part of the Sports Den with Scott Churchson. So Ob Spencer is quite the collector, and look forward to talking to him shortly. First, I wanted to let you know that you can be a part of this program at any point, throughout the week. If you want to message me, I'm on social media. Please add me: Facebook, Rob Daniels; Instagram at Rob Daniels 1983; Twitter at Rob Daniels on air. And, if you ever want to be a part of this program and talk about autographs, memorabilia, and any athlete experiences that you may have had, feel free to be on this program. And how you can do that is by emailing me as well. So get in touch on social media or email robdanielsonair@gmail.com. I look forward to having all facets of life on this program in terms of sports and athletes, so and to go beyond that a little bit, it doesn't have to necessarily be a sports athlete. It could be like, for instance, the room I'm in, my wife, she's a Disney collector, right? So she collects Disney photographs, Mickey Mouse stuff. So anything that you find fascinating that you collect, or of somebody, you have some stories behind some autographs, or maybe you're an authenticator, or maybe you have an experience of being at Disney World and you got your favorite characters to sign an autograph book for your kids, and you want to share that story. Hey, I'm open to that. So that's what I kind of mean by having some more guests on this program, outside of only just the sports and autographs sort of spectrum. So Obi, he's got that for you 20 after 12 this afternoon. And I look forward to it. I hope you do as well. First, I wanted to share now some autograph news with you, like sports memorabilia type of news. And I've sort of added this feature to the program to try and get you up to speed in terms of what's going on out there in the sports memorabilia world. Like I'm still new to it as well because I'm a collector, but I'm trying to dig deeper for folks that really, really want to know some in-tune news about sports memorabilia collecting and such. So here's some interesting news for this week is that 3 of pro football's all-time greats have signed exclusive multi-year autograph deals with Fanatics, and that's an autograph company. Okay, so and the greats are as follows: Joe Montana. We have his former San Francisco 49ers teammate, Jerry Rice, and recently elected Hall of Famer Charles Woodson, who are going to be joining a roster of current and former superstars housed under the company's memorabilia and collectibles division, Fanatics Authentic. So that's kind of neat. So what's going to happen is that Fanatics will now become the sole distributor of the players' autographed memorabilia and collectibles. And what one of them went on to say, Charles Woodson, this is what he had to say, and I quote here: "I'm really looking forward to what this partnership will mean for the fans. I was overwhelmed when my name was called to be inducted into the Hall of Fame. this summer. And this was the perfect time for me to team up with Fanatics and bring the fans incredible memorabilia products. So as an FYI, athletes who have signed deals with Fanatics include Tom Brady, Peyton Manning. We have Marshawn Lynch, as well as Zion Williamson, Aaron Judge, Pete Alonso, Sabrina Ionescu, Joe Burrow, Chase Young, Alexander Ovechkin, among others as well. So if you're interested in some of these items to purchase, if you're someone that purchases autographs per se, then the items are being sold through Fanatics web properties, which include its collectibles arm, sportsmemorabilia.com. So have a look at that website. Make sure you're taking a look at and finding out what is reputable out there in terms of when you're purchasing. So when you're on sportsmemorabilia.com, make sure you have the letter of authenticity, the stamp, whatever it is that shows that you are getting the most legit product out there. And because we all know in the world of online and buying autographs, and especially in times like these pressed times that we're in, like this COVID era, everyone's trying to make an extra buck off everybody. Everybody's trying to and doing it the wrong ways. And there could be fake autographs out there. We've talked about this before on this show in terms of, what's out there in terms of Kobe Bryant now that he's, passed away, and all his memorabilia out there, and what's real and what's not, and people trying to make big money off that. So just be careful is all I'm saying. Use caution, your best ability. And that's usually the best judgment form, is if it has a letter of authenticity, if it has the stamp of approval from some of the top companies out there, like, Beckett, JSA, PSA, DNA, all that, those reputable companies. And if you're not sure, Google it, look it up, make sure that what you're getting is legit, because I don't want you falling out there for the worst thing is getting an autograph and not getting the real thing. It's one thing if you overpay for something and you get the autograph, but then it's another thing if you overpay and you find out it's not a real autograph, and you're like, man, I got ripped off and I don't even get the product that I purchased. And this happened to me before. I'll be 100% honest with you. This happened to me before, that it didn't even have to do with autographs. And you live and you learn is really what it is. I mean, I remember I was outside Madison Square Garden once, and I was with family, and we're out there, and we wanted to go see a New York Rangers game. I'd never stood foot in Madison Square Garden before. So we ended up buying tickets outside from a scalper. Yeah, we did this. I made this mistake. Bought from a scalper, in Toronto, and I've done it a couple times before. And we bought tickets outdoors, right? So I made this mistake, and this is a long time ago. And I figured, in Toronto in the 90s, when you're a kid and you'd go there and you're a teenager, you could buy off scalpers. You're going to get the legit tickets, but you might overpay a little bit if the tickets are sold out inside the stadium or the arena. So that's what we did. So we buy from outside. We get to the turnstile to get into the arena. You guys, like, are these tickets from outside? And we're like, yeah. They're like, ripped up right in front of us. Goodbye, New York Rangers tickets. Couldn't even see them again. And it was a packed house that night because they're against the Philadelphia Flyers, and that's like a rivalry game right there. So we were, SOL is how you want to call it. And you know what that stands for, I'm pretty sure. And we spend a lot of money. It was, I want to say, between 3 people. What did we spend? This is going back a long time ago, and it's American too. So $150. I believe we got ripped $150. And we weren't the only ones. Like, I mean, the people at MSG were like, look for these people, tell us if you see them out there and report them to the box office, because we weren't the only ones. People have got ripped off thousands upon thousands of dollars to go see top name artists at Madison Square Garden because they bought tickets from outside. Whatever you do, don't buy tickets from outside Madison Square Garden. If we're ever out of COVID times and we can go see a concert again, a hockey game, whatever it is, do not buy from outside of the arena, outside there, because chances are you'll get ripped off. And that's what happens to us. And you live and you learn. You live and you learn. Okay. So that is that. And they thousands of dollars to see U2, Bon Jovi, big name artists, concerts that people spent thousands of dollars to go see them, and they could not get into the arena, and they lost all that money because they spent the money outside of the arena to someone outside, like literally steps away from the arena. So that's what I urge you to do, is make sure you check your autographs, make sure they're reputable by having a reputable source that authenticates those autographs whenever you decide to purchase them. This is The Sweet Spot, memorabilia, autographs, and more. And I thank you so much for joining me today. My name is Rob Daniels, and we're on the Spanglish World and Sports World networks on Zingo TV, channel 250. And look forward to speaking to my guest, Obi, shortly on the show, Obi Spencer, who is a part of the Sports Den with Scott Churchson on this network. And he is quite the collector, and it's not what you think, though. It's not sports memorabilia, okay? Look forward to hearing from him at 20 after the hour. Right now, though, we're going to talk a little bit about an experience I had with a couple of autographs. And, I don't like to show off, too much on this program. It's not all about me. But when I first started this show, it was kind of like, I'm going to share a little bit of what I have, and we're going to make it about you for the most part. But, there's a reason why this show started, right? It's because I have a passion for autographs and memorabilia, specific ones. And so I thought, every now and then I'm going to share a story of mine as well. And it'll take 5 minutes tops to lead us right into Obi, and I'll go right into it. Why not? So, part of me in my collecting scheme, in my mind, when I think collecting, I have a theme to it. So to a lot of the things I would like to set up in my vision, whenever it's right to start a man cave, there's vision to it. There's themes, right? And one of those themes, which was really important to me a couple of years back when I was trying to get two incredible baseball players. One, well, he's still working on trying to be the most incredible baseball player out there in Vladimir Guerrero Jr., but his father, Vladimir Guerrero Sr., outstanding career, Hall of Famer, and hopefully his son will follow in his footsteps. And we see it now in spring training, and we've seen it in the past that he has the potential to follow in his footsteps. And I look forward to seeing what Vladdy Jr. can do in the 2021 campaign, the season. So what I did was, because I thought, what would be awesome is to put father and son side by side sweet spot baseballs. If I could get both of those guys on the sweet spot and then, have them next to one another on my mantle in my man cave, that is quite the successful sort of vision that I envision when it comes to setting up your autographs. I wanted father, son beside each other, and just hope in my mind that Vladdy Jr. can have the most successful career possible, like his father. He's learning from the best. So that's what I strive to do. I went out a couple times and was like, how am I going to get, how can I get Vladdy Sr. and Vladdy Jr.? And it came down to luck. Like, one of them was like, I went by a Toronto autograph website where they were still doing public appearances a few years back. And this is before Vladdy even had a season with the Blue Jays yet. He was still in the minors. The guy was playing for, I believe, New Hampshire at the time. Nose is so dry. Do you notice that? Wintertime going into spring and the weather keeps changing. Nose is kind of dry. So Vladdy Jr. is signing this autograph event. Public signing, did a private signing as well. And I mean, the kid hadn't even cracked the majors yet. He's in AA, and there's like a massive lineup out the door to go see Vladimir Guerrero Jr., this AA kid, and he's in Toronto, and he's doing a public signing. And I was a part of that, luckily, and I heard about it. I can't imagine, if it got so much press that he was out there going to be signing, it would be, the line would take 3 hours to get through. And it might very well have been 3 hours that day. I mean, I was lucky to be in the first, I'd say 30 people or so in line to get his autograph. And that's what happened that day, was that he ended up signing, and what I did was I lined up, and I'll show you the autograph. Me and a buddy of mine, we went, and my father too, because he wanted to see Vladdy Jr. And and I'll tell you this, that they do this. What athletes do is when they're signed up for public signings and such, they make the autograph as best as possible. And you might notice this over the years, that Vladdy's autograph is, you might not be able to tell the difference between a public signing and if you get Vladdy at the ballpark, because his autograph is essentially just loops, like 3 loops or something like that. I'll show you what it is. So this is Vladdy Jr. If I can get this up to the camera without, and I'll show you it right there, Vladdy Jr. And so it's essentially loops, but they do the best they can at those signings to give you the best autograph possible, because they know that you have paid for that autograph. So they make sure that the autograph is their best autograph possible. And it's not to say when you're out in public that they're not going to give you their best autograph possible. It's just more like an unwritten rule. Maybe it is a written rule to these autograph companies that they're going to sign the best possible way in a public signing that's been arranged. But it doesn't mean that when you're outside of this public signing and you catch someone outside the ballpark in the parking lot in Florida that you're going to get a bad autograph. It could still very well be, just as good. So, and I'll show you Vladdy Sr., who I was very lucky enough to get at the Canadian Baseball Hall of Fame and Museum. It's a little more defined, if you might recognize it. I got him at the Canadian Baseball Hall of Fame and Museum. And this was a few years ago, the year that Roy Halladay got inducted. It was a very sad day because Roy passed away 6 months later, and Roy was inducted that day, and Vladdy Sr. was. So very lucky to get Vladdy Sr. that day. And now I can put that on my mantle one day and be so proud of those 2 incredible baseball players. And hopefully Vladdy lives up to that hype of being an incredible baseball player, Vladdy Jr. I mean, he's got the best of the best to feed off of in terms of knowledge and such, by having his father and, so Vladdy Jr. And Vladdy Sr., put that on the mantle in the man cave. Look forward to that whenever I can set that up. So that's my story. It's 20 after 12 here. This is the Sweet Spot, Memorabilia, Autographs, and more on the Spanglish World and Sports World Networks on Zingo TV, channel 250. Thanks for being along here. My name is Rob Daniels, your host, and about time to welcome our guest on the program and into the room here. I think he's setting up and getting his camera all set to go. His name is Obi Spencer. Are you there, buddy? Can you hear me?
I am here. Is my camera the right angle? I'm getting all sorts of feedback that I'm all set up wrong.
Let's see here in the chat from the producer. OB is here. Thanks, our good man, Eduardo, producer Eduardo, who works tirelessly around the clock to make sure we are up and running here on the Spanglish World and Sports World Networks on Zingo TV channel 250. And your camera seems to be right on par with what we're looking for. I think it's fantastic. So
excellent.
Obi Spencer, it is so good to. Where are you hanging out today? Where are you videoing in from today?
I am in New Jersey, just outside of the Philadelphia. Well, I'm in the Philadelphia metro area in New Jersey, though. That's where I am.
So you're in the state of New Jersey.
Yes.
Awesome.
Wonderful.
We have a couple of people on this program from the New Jersey area, because that's where Scott Churchson's from, right?
Absolutely, and we definitely work together on a few shows here. And but yeah, we live on the opposite ends of our tiny little state, to be honest.
Oh, okay. On the opposite ends of the state. Okay, so So how close are you to New York City then?
I'm about 90 miles away from New York City. It's certainly something that we and my family do on a day trip, and depending upon what we hit up, a few of these items are from New York City. So I lived up in the New Jersey area of the metropolitan New York space.
Yep.
Maybe 10 minutes outside, and now I'm on the other side, 10 minutes outside of Philly. So New Jersey is a tiny little state divided by two big cities outside of it.
Nice. So, and you got the green hat on, I guess, for St. Patrick's Day in the mood.
Happy St. Patrick's. Absolutely.
Happy St. Patrick's Day. Well, thank you so much for joining this program. Really appreciate it. I hear some great things from people in the network that you're gung ho to be a part of this program, and I'm so thankful that you are. So again, first and foremost, thank you so much for doing this. I appreciate it.
Absolutely.
Okay, so you yourself, you are a collector, and I've said this off the top of the program, but not necessarily a sports autographs collector. What is it that you collect that is different from a lot of people? It's unique, and I want to hear. Why don't you say the three things that you collect? Because you've emailed them to me, but I want it out of your mouth to say what it is that you collect.
Absolutely, I'm a whiskey collector. I am a Star Wars collector, and I focus on Darth Vader and the Millennium Falcon. Mm-hmm. And I am a hat collector, which is why I have one for every occasion.
Nice. That's awesome. So that's very different. We're talking about whiskey bottles and all kinds of different forms of whiskey. And you also, like you said, Star Wars and hats. You don't hear about that every day. You hear about a lot of sports collecting. You hear about Disney, but this is different. And this is why I'm intrigued to have different content on this program from time to time as well. So this is what's great. Why don't you shed some light on why you have chosen these items over the years to collect?
Absolutely. So we'll start with hats because that was easy. Started losing my hair. So I just went with baseball caps everywhere I went. And then I lost my hair not super early, but early enough that I was still going to a lot of the weddings when I was wearing already in the baseball cap zone. And I was like, wait a second, I need hats to wear to weddings. So I started collecting fancier hats to wear with jackets, fedoras, moved on to pork pies. I got some top hats, but that was the genesis of the baseball hat collection. The Star Wars collection, as you notice, my name is OB. And
before I get to the Star Wars, can I just ask, was that a medical reason, like
no,
the hair thing, or is it just you lost your hair like the average person could lose their hair?
I lost my hair like the average person, and I'm a little vainer than the average person. So
you're a little what? Sorry,
what's that? A little vainer, a little more
vainer. Okay, so it's more of like a thing, like you're not pleased that you no longer have hair, so you want to cover it up. It's just one of those things.
Yeah, I mean, when I started covering up, I still go to, I still have to work at a job. I'm not that vain, but vain enough that the bald spot's bothersome. So if I'm going out and it's being casual, and I was allowed to wear a hat, why not just avoid the things. I just started a little younger than most folks, not a lot younger, early 20s versus late 20s where most of my friends started catching up. But by then I was already a hat wearer. So once you get into wearing hats, I think in general, you feel a little naked without a hat. And so you keep wearing them and then.
Yeah, a hat wearer all the time as well too. I didn't collect per se like you did, but there were times where I went through periods of my life where I felt naked without wearing a baseball cap. But listen, whatever helps you cope and wearing a hat and it makes you feel more confident or whatever it is, I encourage whatever makes you feel more comfortable on the daily. So I just wanted to get that, just touch on that to get that out of the way. And let's move on to your Star Wars collection. What's with the Darth Vader?
So, basically my name is Obi. Grew up during now really going to date myself, grew up during the original Star Wars trilogy. And in those days, kids would pick up wiffle ball bats and we'd all play Star Wars. So you'd be smacking bats against each other, calling it lightsabers. And I didn't have a choice on who I wanted to be. You know, it was kind of like, well, you're Obi, so we know what you're going to do. But at the end of the day, you're going to die. So, you know, I was a little unhappy about that. So I became more and more of a Darth Vader fan just because I wanted to win once in a while. And so I think that started my Darth Vader phase. And then as I got older, the complexity of the character, and you know, they started talking about the next set of movies, and I'm like, this is going to be a real tragedy on the level of Macbeth. If it had been done, and had it been made as adult movies, it really would have been shockingly powerful. Not that making the children movies like the other ones before them was a problem. It just didn't go that way. But I totally got into that character. And, you know, once you get into Star Wars, especially at a younger age, you meet all sorts of people who are into Star Wars. So that was the Darth Vader side. I was into Star Wars, and my first car was what I would call the typical first car for the guy who has to buy their first car themselves with their job from the pizzeria or the grocery store or whatever. This is a hunk of junk. And as people know who are into Star Wars, the Millennium Falcon is the fastest hunk of junk in the galaxy. So a friend of mine got me a little dangler of a Millennium Falcon. And so we kind of just went with that. And then over time, I just kind of grew to liking the Falcon. The shape of it's odd. I have, like, just for the record, I have other Star Wars stuff. And if we take the camera off and go around the room, it's not just those two. But like I said, that's what I kind of gravitated to. So, like, you know, bottle openers or whatever.
Yeah.
Of the Falcon just float around.
So, in terms of your, like I was talking about this on the program before, and like, I'm not the, you know, in terms of your collection, I'd say the Star Wars is what I know least of, because I just haven't, I never got into Star Wars, probably like you have, but hats and bottles like whiskey, I could probably relate to, just because I think there's some to me, I think there's some fascinating things you can collect in terms of, you know, unopened alcohol bottles and saving them over time. And so I'll let you, you know, you're the expert on the Star Wars front, and mostly for the other things too, since you're the collector. But I wanted to touch on, and I touched on this earlier in the program, about themes. Okay, so you do so do you have a certain theme around your collection? Because I was talking about earlier that I had a couple of baseballs. It was like a father-son theme, and I want to put that up on my mantle because it's like the father and son fantastic baseball players. Hopefully the son gets into the Hall of Fame too. But it's like father-son side by side in my man cave. Do you have any themes when it comes to your autographs? Or memorabilia?
So I would definitely say Star Wars, picking the Darth Vader character and the Millennium Falcon ship are themed. So if you talk to people who are in the Star Wars world and lore, they all do have their favorite characters, or maybe their favorite single show, or like I have a friend who is a huge X-wing collector. He wants X-wings. You know, if you give him a Y-wing, he's like, "Thank you." He puts it up, but it's not his thing. So for me, it's definitely on those two, Darth Vader and the Millennium Falcon, which I keep pointing to. With hats, it's moved. So originally it was baseball caps, and there was a baseball cap for every outfit. I was wearing suits to work with baseball caps. I went to Wawa, which is our local convenience store down here, kind of like a Tim Hortons, made from what I understand. But you know, the guy was like, you know, you come in here with the baseball cap and suit on every day or whatever it was I was coming. You're one of the few guys who just, it really looks right on. These other guys come in and it doesn't look right. And that was a compliment, but they were known just to say those kind of things. But like I said, I wanted to start wearing them to weddings and stuff. So then I said, I want to start collecting fancier hats. But I don't know if the hat is as themed so much as, well, I got this suit and that shirt, and that's a nice outfit, and now I need a hat for that outfit. And then, of course, when I travel, I always want to get a hat as a piece of memorabilia from that place. So that becomes, this is the hat from this place. This is the hat from that place. Certain places seem to sell more hats than others. But that's what it is. With the whiskey, it's really about, what am I tasting now? Who's giving me the bottles? What is the bottle? Oh, I'm in a really peaty Scotch zone, so I get a few really peaty Scotches. Oh, I'm doing bourbons now. I get some bourbons. The other thing with the whiskey is, for better or worse, I drink my whiskeys. I don't save the bottles. I know a lot of guys do. I started to save the bottles when I had a collection of about 20 bottles. Now I'm rotating through 40 or 50 bottles at a time. So there are unopened bottles for sure that haven't been gotten to yet. But for the most part, I'm going to try that one. I want to try that one. Like the crown jewel of the whiskey bourbon of the bourbon collection right now is Pappy Van Winkle. If I get a bottle of Pappy Van Winkle, it's $150 bottle of bourbon, which is expensive for bourbon, not so much for Scotch. I promise you, I'm not waiting to see if it becomes a $500 bottle of bourbon. I'm going to drink it and let my palate be the memory of it.
Yeah. So going back to your collection, you were telling me you do collect rum, though.
No, I think that was Eduardo who was saying he collected rum.
Oh, okay. That was Eduardo into because for those that are watching, we have our producer that sometimes can write into the chat. So our producer collects rum. That's cool. That's awesome. And so going back to your hat collection, I can tell you that, I can't relate to that specifically, but I understand what you mean by trying to get a hat from a different place every time you travel. And it's interesting because you would get hats, and some people get the t-shirts, whatever. It's like, I love Aruba, or, Grand Cayman Islands, and wherever it is. And for you, it's hats. And I'll tell you, for my mother-in-law, it's spoons. So she up in her kitchen, it's like, a big dresser of, or I want to say, I don't know if it's not a dresser. It's one of those things it's like a thing you would put baseballs in, like a case, but it's a case that's hanging on the wall in the kitchen, and there's all kinds of spoons from all different parts of the world. So every time, like in the family, if anybody traveled, they'd know specifically for my mother-in-law, you got to try and come back with a spoon from wherever you went, and so that way she can add it to her collection, and then you'd be in her good books. So she'd give you like a homemade plate of pasta at nighttime, my Italian mother-in-law, because that when they like you, they want to feed you. So there you go. That's my little story in terms of relating to your hat collection, how you go about your themes. So that's amazing. This is the Sweet Spot, memorabilia, autographs, and more today. And as always, we are on the Spanglish Sport. We're on the Spanglish World and Sports World networks on Zingo TV channel 250. Your host Rob Daniels here with a very special guest, Obi Spencer, who joins us from the New Jersey area today. Obi, I'm very interested in showing off your collection. I know we didn't really, we didn't discuss this offhand, but I don't want to put you on the spot. Do you anywhere around you, do you have anything that you can show off in terms of your collection and maybe explain a story or two behind it? Or?
Absolutely. I've watched the show once or twice to make sure I knew what to be prepared for. So I have stuff all around. So over here, unfortunately, the angle changed a little bit, but this is I'm going to point it down for just a minute there. That is my Globe bar where I keep most of my Scotch, or at least the ones I'm currently drinking. So I changed it up for the show so that I would have some interesting ones to talk about in here.
Wow.
So I did cheat a little bit. So this is the Peat Monster. I don't know if it's getting a good view.
Yeah.
So this is by a company called Compass Box. So they're the bottlers. They go to all the distilleries and they'll blend those distilleries to make their own flavors. And this is a Peat Monster. This is their 10-year anniversary edition. This is, if it was unopened, the most expensive bottle I currently have. It's a $350 collector's item. But like I said, I'm going to drink my bottles. So I also did get it when it first came out, so it was not the full price. And I don't know if you can see it. It's when it comes to Scotch, you usually don't get really graphic on the covers. Scotch is classy, but here they have a monster drawn in that's semi-reminiscent of.
But is that
squid.
So? It's like, is that bottle half full still, or what?
Oh yeah, I'd say this bottle's about half full. Still.
Half full. Okay. Yeah. So
yeah, absolutely.
So you have some that you drink from, but some are unopened.
That is correct. And I don't drink a whole bottle. I drink several bottles at a time. When people come over, I know what their tastes are. They tell me what their tastes are. I want to be able to help them indulge with what they like.
Yeah. So what else?
So another bottle I have open. This would not be a collector's item. This is I got from a trip to Vegas. I had them mail it back to me. Again, I was in a peaty mood. So this is a Cagnes Islay blend. So Islay is an island in Scotland where they're known for their peaty whiskeys. For those who don't know, who might be listening, a peaty whiskey, what they do is they take the peat moss in the bogs and they burn it to heat up the barley. And that gives it a very distinct aroma. If you get a really peaty whiskey and you're at dinner with everybody, you have it brought to your table, your friends may never want to talk to you again because it will smell roughly like dirty socks. And it's a strange odor to enjoy, but those of us who like peaty whiskeys like that. But this was, again, a specialty bottle out of Vegas. I don't know how many they made. As a matter of fact, they had the cask in Vegas and they bottled it and shipped it off to you.
Nice. And thank you for breaking the rule so you could share it on the show. Whatever happens in Vegas stays in Vegas. It went to New Jersey and you told the story, and I'm grateful that you put it on this program. There you go.
We might have a few more Vegas stories. The last whiskey I want to share is the Proper 12. This, for those of you, this is good for the show and sports related, MMA related. Oh my goodness. What's his name? Come on, Obi. Conor McGregor. This is Conor McGregor's whiskey, or it's an Irish whiskey. So now this one has a sad story because, or it's a funny story, I should say. It came out. Some friends of mine were drinking it. They said, "Oh my goodness, this is like bottom shelf." He just put his name on it and selling it for cheap. It's really bad. Okay, so I go to a party the next day. And my friend shows up and I say to him, and this is a friend who me and him will random events. It's almost like it's your turn, my turn, your turn, my turn. I'll give him a bottle. He'll give me a bottle. It's basically his turn to give me a bottle. I say, "Oh man, I just heard about Proper 12. I heard that stuff is just horrific." And he's like, "And here's your bottle of it. Here's your bottle of your Proper 12. I was like, "Oh, I'm just so embarrassed." He's like, No, I bought two. I drank one last night, and
oh boy,
I'm giving it to you. But you're right, it's swill. So that was a little embarrassing, egg on my face. But I did get the Proper 12 on. I'm not sure when I'm going to open it. It's probably for mixing, but it does exist. So those are a few of the whiskeys. I have more set aside that we can come back to, but I can move to one of my other collections if you want.
This is the Sweet Spot, Memorabilia, Autographs, and More with Rob Daniels on the Spanglish World and Sports World Networks on Zingo TV Channel 250. My guest, Obi Spencer, and we can move on to that in just a moment. First, I wanted to ask, in your mind, how do you determine which bottle is going to stay open and which is going to stay closed? What do you think about before you decide like what you're going to indulge in and what's going to be a collector's item without being open?
I do have some magazines that I read to kind of get a sense of what might be a something to open, and a lot of that has to do with my guests who are at my house that might be coming. For instance, I don't think this is going to become a collector's item. This is Uncle Nearest. This is from Jack Daniels. Uncle Nearest was an African American man who taught the Daniels family how to brew. He was erased from history, then kind of brought back in the Daniels family. It's like, no, we never erased him. We just didn't advertise him. Here's the pictures of him. Here's everything. And now, in the last few years, they brought him back to prominence and they've made a bottling after him. I have no idea if this is going to be a thing that sticks around, if it's only going to be Black History Month, but it's got a great story. So I want to keep the bottle, so I probably won't drink it. Whereas something like this is Keola Lee. It's a 12-year-old. It's known to be really good. It's got some decent value, but the flavoring is known to be spectacular. So I wasn't going to let something that people say tastes great earn value when I could, like I said, I collect it to drink it and share it. The few bottles I do save are few and far between and have like good stories behind them.
Yeah. So are you like it's a Friday night, a Saturday night, you're sitting at the dinner table. Which one of those bottles is sitting next to you? Is it always depending on your mood, or what's your go-to drink to go with that? Let's say if you're having a steak meal, if you're having, chicken parm Friday night, and I don't know if you're a vegetarian, but I'm just throwing it out there. On a Friday night, hang out, wind down after a long week, what do you go to?
So I said, peaty stuff, as I said. So Lagavulin is a high one I'll pick a lot. That's again off the East Lake, very, very stinky, one of the stinkiest ones that I know of. And then there's a Highland 12-year-old. That's really nice flavor on the mouth, great mouth feel. It goes with just about any meat you want. And then the other one I'll drink a lot of is Glenfiddich 12. So Glenfiddich, that the 12-year-old is considered by a lot of folks like a beginner's scotch, one to get you into it, one that you'll enjoy. But dollar for dollar, I think it is the best scotch there is. So you take the 12 out, you don't mind going through bottles at a decent pace. But all of those are not inexpensive. All of those are under $50 a bottle, and they're well-known names for scotch drinkers. They're not anything that someone's gonna go, oh, you have that? You have the Peat Monster, or you got a bottle of Macallan Ruby. That's the most recent, really nice bottle I finished. Those are definitely for guests coming over. Those ones I named are the Obi's having a drink with his dinner alone type meal.
But I guess it's safe to say when someone stops by for dinner, let's say in non-COVID times, or hopefully when we get back to normal sooner than later, that they're going to probably bring you a bottle of something over if you're having them over for dinner. Do they know that if they're close friends?
Most of them would be either bringing that wine with dinner, but yeah, a lot of folks are going to bring a bottle. And the other thing, I guess, is if somebody comes over and they are a scotch drinker and they know their scotch is, it's not just here, it's along this whole wall that you can't see. I'll allow them to pick a bottle. And if somebody picks a bottle I hadn't planned on opening, again, it's just not that kind of collection. So, okay, this bottle gets open. One of the things I do also is I have, this particular bottle is only for my show, Me, My Scotch and I, here on Zingo at 10 o'clock on Friday. But we do tastings of scotches or whiskeys at the end of the show. And I always pour a little into this blend. This is the show's blend. The goal is someday, like you said, post-COVID, my guests will be in studio with me, and a part of our tasting will be to have that blend, that ever-changing blend. And I have another bigger blend that, this includes, the list is long, and these are the ones that are in this bottle over time. You know, the bottle hasn't been emptied, so we pretend that it's all in there.
Have you ever sold the bottle?
Never sold a bottle.
No,
never sold a bottle.
You're that kind of collector that collects, because there's some people that collect, but they sell and then try and make some money and then buy something else that they're more interested in. So you've never gone that avenue, is what you're saying.
Not with this collection. I can easily imagine it happening with the Star Wars collection, and some of my hats have been sold. My head side changed dramatically. So one of my favorite hats I had to sell, actually, it just would not fit.
Yeah. Gotcha. So that's kind of neat. I'm very fascinated by what you have there and how you sort of go about your collection. I can tell you it's more like you're a casual collector with it. There is no rule around if someone wants to come over and open a bottle with you and have a toast on a Friday night, you're okay to that. There's no sort of obsession of like, no, you can't touch this bottle, you can't touch that bottle. Maybe there's a couple, but for the most part, you're a casual collector when it comes to it, if I'm understanding correctly.
Absolutely.
And touching on, what would you, in terms of recommendations for the average collector, say out there, the average collector who has the hobby of collecting, like for me, and I've said this on this program before, it's to choose wisely so you don't clutter your entire home with stuff and probably drive your family crazy over time. You see, for me, it's baseballs and pictures, mostly 8x10s. I allow for the odd 16x20 if it's worth it. Like for me, I live in the Toronto area of Joe Carter jumping around, winning the 1993 World Series with his home run. If I get that in 16x20, sure, it's allowed. The bat flip, sure, it's allowed. So what do you recommend to the average collector out there who has this hobby of collecting that they're not going to drive themselves crazy? Because I'm not going to go get bobbleheads and jerseys and this sign and that sign, because what are you recommending? Yeah.
I recommend kind of what you said earlier. Have a specialty. A lot of the things, I drink the whiskey to drink the whiskey. I have a certain amount of space available, and that's it. Like I have a few liquor cabinets, but they are designed for the liquor cabinets, and they also show off some of the Star Wars stuff, which we'll get to, which is a little more collectible stuff. A lot of things. But
Well, do you
I
have
think
it? Do you have the Star Wars there? A little stuff.
Oh yeah, absolutely. So yeah, so my favorite piece, and this is what the piece that kind of started when you asked if anyone had anything. It's autographed. Yeah. This is a ring light scan. This is Samuel L. Jackson, signed nice. Samuel L. Jackson from Attack of the Clones. We got two site authentications on the back.
Nice.
From two different companies. My son bought me this. My son's name is Samuel, and it's not coincidental that he would buy Samuel L. Jackson, because there was definitely part of his naming was naming him after Samuel L. Jackson. And he bought that at a Comic-Con for me with his own money, which is at the time was probably 5 months worth of allowance or something. So it really does mean a lot that's what he picked. I've never had it appraised, and I really don't know how much he spent on it. Yeah. But it is a special piece. It does have a spot on the wall. And like I said, it's not Darth Vader. And if it's not Darth Vader or the Millennium Falcon, there's a 90% chance I didn't buy it. Yeah. My most valuable piece, which I did debox, but even deboxed it sells for about $1,000, is this this Darth Vader statue. Comes with a certification. I see you trying to look. So
wow, let me take I want to take a picture. Hold on, hold that up one more time. Let's take a picture on that. Hold on a second here. Wait a second. All right. Nice. That Darth Vader figurine sells for about $1,000 American.
$1,000 American. Yes, I double checked today to see what it was, and on eBay there was 4 of them, all by now at $1,000. So it may be the same guy selling them all.
Okay. So where is it on the figurine that shows that it's authentic? Like that, there's it hologrammed or something?
It comes with just a piece of paper, and then the piece of paper matches the bottom in terms of what number of print it is.
Sure. That's awesome.
Yep.
Wow. What else? Okay, so you got that, and for hats, do you have anything that's the most unique that you want to show off? Like maybe one or two that you love?
Sure.
Favorite ones?
My favorite ones. And this one was get it out. This I wore a lot, and you'll see why.
Yeah. At
the beginning of the pandemic, I would wear this hat a lot with a pair of welder goggles. Okay. It is a top hat, but it's very steampunky top hat.
Yeah.
So that's the one top hat that I got, and I never knew when I was going to wear. I got this
You stick a feather in that thing, and I swear you could start dancing around at Oktoberfest activities. I see a lot of people that wear similar ones. Even the one you're wearing now, you put a feather in there, and because I lived in this region in they call it, I guess, the Berlin of Canada, in Waterloo region, and there is a very German community, and they celebrate Oktoberfest like wow, like you wouldn't believe out there. And I've seen those types of hats. It just needs a feather, and hey, you're off to the races, and that's good. But that's a very unique piece. You don't see that type of hat all the time. Like it comes out from Oktoberfest, but yours seems a little more sharp. Like it looks.
It's a very well constructed hat.
The material, it does not look cheap at all. Like it looks very
yeah. So one of the interesting things about hats is some hats have no give, and some hats are fitted around the head. And when you get one of these hats that's like fit around the head, hopefully you have a nice piece of leather or something in there so it's shaped to your head. Because the hat, its shape is not going to change when you put it on your head. Other hats, like this one or a baseball cap, the whole hat moves to your body. But these more expensive hats, they don't.
Do you
And this
do you
I
collect
haven't.
do you collect Major League Baseball hats or no? Not.
Yes, most of my baseball caps are multiple teams. They don't necessarily relate. I didn't bring any of my baseball caps down, but my baseball caps, they don't necessarily relate to teams I like. Although I am a Sixer fan and I have a lot of Sixer hats, but I get the hat that matches the outfit I told you. So
Yeah.
I have a beautiful pink shirt that needed a baseball cap, and I saw it was a gorgeous pink San Antonio Spurs cap. Boom, got it.
Yeah. It's got to be stuff
my
matching.
father's,
Yeah, so you're more the matchy type. I totally
yeah,
understand. Yeah.
yeah,
And
and then
for me, I don't really collect hats, but I'd say if I were to, what I really find intriguing is minor league baseball hats. They have some of the coolest logos in minor leagues, and you don't even know what the teams are, but they're so nice. And if they're official and full pack, I love that. And then it's like you're collecting minor league hats. I haven't dived into that really yet, but if I visit another stadium, I might. I don't know if I'm going to start. I hope not, but I don't need to add to the collection. But I can understand. I can understand your passion for hats, though, for sure. So thank you so much for joining me, man. I think we're running out of time here.
absolutely, my pleasure. The one thing I would add is I want to get the full 6 of the Women's Hockey League. All 6 of those logos are bomb, absolute
Are
bomb.
awesome.
So
For the Women's Hockey League.
Yes, with the Toronto Six and the Riveters. Those are all great logos. Absolutely.
So,
We followed those. We talk about that league all the time on Scott Churchin's the Sports Den, which is 4:00 today on
4:00
the same
today.
network. So,
yes. Tell us. That's awesome. So make sure you check Ob Spencer and Scott Churchson on the Sports Den every Tuesday, 4:00. Great gentlemen, and so thankful to have you on the program. I loved hearing about your stories behind your collection. So again, thank you so much for joining me. Really, really appreciate it, and we'll have to touch base down the line for sure.
absolutely. Thank you.
Thanks so much. My guest, Ob Spencer, on the Sweet Spot, memorabilia, autographs, and more. I'm your host, Rob Daniels, and this show, of course, airs on the Spanglish World and Sports World networks on Zingo TV, channel 250. So thanks so much for watching, listening. You want to be a part of this program, again, you can always email me, robdanielsonair@gmail.com. Follow on social media, and, of course, follow Spanglish World and on the Spanglish Sports World networks on social media as well. I look forward to speaking with you next week. Until then, stay well, stay safe. We'll see you next time.